All right, so I've got my Dewalt table saw here. I haven't had a chance to do this video. I've been meaning to do it for a bit, but I've been working on my CNC machine, but I have a need to run a few things through the table saw, so I thought I would take this opportunity just to go over my zero clearance insert. So I got this one off of Printables, and it's worked well. It just is a two-part design that's held together by screws. And I thought it worked quite well. You can see it does have, it does fit with zero clearance, which is awesome. So if I put it on there on this blade and then raise up the blade, it does cut a small, just a little piece of it away to make it zero clearance. So if you're looking for a zero clearance plate that's simple, this one is quite good. I did take and redesign it. I was going to just take and remix this one. I ended up taking a couple other designs and essentially remixing the whole thing. And what I came up with was this design. And so the idea behind this is this took a fair bit of time to print. It's two parts. It took a fair bit to print and have it turn out. And so I didn't want to get and have to print a bunch of these, because for the different size blades, as well as the support piece would have prevented wider blades from like a dado stack and get in the way. So what I came up with was I did this design. And so this design allows for a few of the things from the factory one if you still have it. So this one, you basically sand down these little nubs to get it at the right height. This one, I decided to use the factory screws. So I still have my factory plate, so I figured I would just use my factory screws and move them over, and then that would give me that adjustment. But the idea here is that you have this blue insert, and I mean, you print it in whatever color you want, but essentially that can be replaced, and you just print off a bunch of these inserts. Now, I haven't really tested this in for real yet. This is still, I would call a prototype, but I will make the files available. But basically that allows you to have different, just different plates that fit in this throat. And I made the throat wide enough to accommodate a dado stack. So while I shoot this video, I'm going to swap over the screws to this plate. I'll get it leveled. So as you can see, we'll just make sure it actually fits in the saw. So it does. It does support the lock in theory, but I haven't actually tried to move this over yet. So we'll see how that goes. And then the leveling screws. So I'll move those over and we'll see how this goes. All right, let's do that. Okay, so the front lock piece I have to redesign to fit that. The bolt that I have isn't long enough, and it probably needs a little bit of a different setup, because I can't use, this is going to stick up too high to use the insert part, so I'm going to have to come up with a different way to lock that. But anyway, I'll take a look at some options there. But for now, just note that in this design, that lock isn't going to work. So I'm going to put this back. Tighten that up for now, and we'll leave this till later. Okay, so now I've got the screws switched out. So the first time you would run this, I'm going to put in my normal insert. So we'll call this just my standard blade insert. So I put the insert in, and I bring the blade down, put this over top, okay, and then normally, well, not normally, for safety's sake, to make sure this cut, what we would do, what you want to do, is take a piece of wood. I'm just trying to find a scrap chunk here that is big enough. So I want to put that over the whole plate and then use either the fence or a couple clamps, is what I prefer, to clamp it down. Okay, so then once you are, once this is secure, now I'm going to plug my saw in and we'll get this turned on. Some dust collection. Grab the power. Okay, so this is the first time I'm running this. So if it's a fail, you'll get to watch me fail right here. So here we go. They're dead. So overall, I'm going to unplug the saw. Safety first. So with the saw unplugged, I'll pull this out. So you can see, so it did create a 0 clearance plate for use here. And it's still all together. Hasn't blown apart, that's good. Does look like I could maybe make the inserts a little bit longer because it blew out this back piece here. That's going to make it a little bit tricky there. So I need to bring this back a little bit more. But let's see with the riving knife. So it does, so I need to make that maybe just a touch thinner at the back, just to make that riving knife go in there just a little smoother. So I'll put out an updated design that allows for a little bit more depth on the inserts and a little bit more allowance. Yeah, I can't make that much longer before we start interfering with the riving knife. I can basically make it another like 3 millimeters on the plates. So if you don't extend the blade all the way, it would work as it sits, but I will need to extend that back about 3 millimeters to make that work. Okay, so I've got a couple adjustments to make to this, but I figured while we're out here, we might as well try the Dado stack, which is what I had intended. So again, I need to make that a little bit longer so that it survives the cut, because it just chipped away basically at the back. And obviously having it not be whole makes this not really work as well. So I'm going to fix that, but just to see how it might work with a Dado stack, we'll change out the blade and try this again. So now we have that. So now I insert a fresh insert. Okay, lock that in. And again, we have to lower the blade down. Blade guard off. Okay. Put that over top. Put this over top. Make sure that's nice and tight. Okay, so now I'll plug the saw back in. I'll give this a second test. Okay, but as we can see, we now have a 1/2 inch insert. So now I can keep this, I can mark this as my 1/2 inch insert, and next time I need a 1/2 inch insert, I go grab that. Now it is zero clearance, so it is going to be tight, which is what we want. And there you go. And now I can just have a bunch of different inserts for my dado stack and maybe a thin and thick kerf blade and a few things like that. So, and I only need to print these small insert pieces and replace these small insert pieces and only print one main body. So I have a few tweaks and stuff I'm going to make, but for the most part, I would say this is functional as it sits, minus the front locking piece up here that I need to figure out if I can make that work, as well as just cutting out a tiny bit more for the riving knife and making this a little bit longer. Again, if you don't raise your blade up quite so high on a 10-inch blade, you won't have any problems. It won't tear it out. But on the 10-inch blade, if you raise it up the whole distance, it will chip out. There's not enough material there. So I'll try and make that a little bit longer, and hopefully that'll be fine. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So I will link to the printables or Maker World links below. And yeah, hopefully it can be of use to somebody. Thanks for your time.